Okay, well, welcome everyone to our artist discussion this evening. My name is Alexandra Nicholas Kuhn, and I'm the Executive Director of the Massillon Museum. We are thrilled to right now be hosting in the museum's main gallery the exhibition Juxtaposed, Honoring the Past, Inspiring the Future. It runs through October 12th, so we're coming in on the close of what has been a wonderful several months of hosting a wide array of absolutely beautiful and thought-provoking artwork of varying media. It will be sad to see it go, but this panel discussion will live on. We're looking forward to having a great conversation. And I wanted to acknowledge some of our primary funders without whose support programs like this and exhibitions like Juxtaposed would not be possible. The Ohio Arts Council and Arts and Stark offer us unrestricted operating support, for which we are incredibly grateful. And Visit Canton provides us marketing support, and they funded a great portion of the marketing associated with the Juxtaposed exhibition. Well, it's my honor to introduce our moderator for the evening, Susan Mentrak, who is very familiar with the Massillon Museum. She's been a longtime instructor here, our ceramic studio manager, a friend, just a wonderfully creative force who has been showcasing her artwork all around Northeast Ohio and Central Ohio and beyond. She attended the Columbus College of Art and Design, where she focused on creating models and sculptures for use in illustration. She has taught numerous classes and workshops and was recently awarded a Creative Forces Grant, which is a partnership between the National Endowment for the Arts and the U.S. Departments of Defense and Veterans Affairs to improve the health and well-being of military and veteran populations. And before I turn it over to Susan, I just want to share with the attendees this evening that if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and we will see to it that Susan and the other artists receive them. Otherwise, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. So, Susan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thanks,
Okay,
everyone, for
well,
joining us.
welcome. I'm honored to have been asked to curate the show as a guest curator. It was pitched to me 2 years ago. Actually, the four artists, ceramic artists, that a couple of them are here tonight, Sail and Drew, as well as PJ Hargraves and Wade. They all pitched a show for our M gallery, and it's kind of a small space, and we really wanted to include all of them. So I was tasked to create a show or curate a show that would include them. And their first pitch to get together was the idea of chroma. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, chroma, how about let's tackle what you really are is a group of friends. And I was thinking about when we add more people together, how to do that and what's the tie. And I was like, oh, it would be really interesting to compare relationships between artists in their communities as well as who they've been mentored by, and then how that relates to their peers, and then passing it along to future generations. So then I narrowed it down to specific schools. I wanted the Ohio tie. And so I picked University of Akron, Kent State, Columbus College of Art and Design, and then for an MFA program, I picked Cranbrook. And the reason I picked Cranbrook was because that was the crossover between several of our artists as well. So that's why I picked that MFA program. But here tonight, then I have Dean Mitchell's here, and he is a CCAD alumni, and he's primarily works in watercolor, but he also does acrylic painting and oil as well. Very talented artist. I also have Laura Sanders, also representing CCAD alum. She is an oil painter. I have Sail Chung, and he went to Cranbrook for his MFA, and he also taught professional ties to the University of Akron. I also tonight is Drew Ippolini. He also received his MFA from Cranbrook, and he also has ties to the Akron area. And that's where he was with SIL, as well as going to, they overlap also with Cranbrook and Akron. And then Keenan is our newest graduate with her recent MFA graduation from Kent State. And then myself, I'm kind of the bridge between the ceramics, Northeast ceramics influence, but my background is CCAD. So that's on the screen right now is one of my ceramic pieces, but my school and education is CCAD. It's illustration. So, and actually that ties me into going to talk about Dean first. Dean, one of the reasons I included Dean and asked him to be in the show is because when I was in school, I was taught, and our professors would show Dean's work and said, this is what you need to aim for. This is really high and where the caliber of art we want you to go towards and be like. And so I always held Dean in high respect, and he's always been one of my heroes. And so when I started putting the show together, I wanted to include Dean. So I'm going to start with him. Well, no, I'm not going to start. I'm going to start with an all over and then get back to Dean. So a group question for everybody, just to start us off in the intro. I explained what the show was about. So we are all artists connected through either CCAD, Cranbrook, Kent State, and the University of Akron. And so I would love for you guys to talk about how these school legacies, how they have influenced your artistic voice. And then we'll take that as a bit further. And then since we've had, if you've been to the show and seen the exhibition, now that we have everything juxtaposed and set side by side, were surprised by anything? And I'll just give you an example. For me, I was surprised by the energy of the influence of Kirk. So Kirk Mangus is one of the ceramicists. He has now passed away, but he was very influential at Kent State. But I feel like having the ceramic pieces, even though the artist did not attend Kent State, I can see a little bit of the energy, definitely, and the expressiveness of Northeast Ohio artists. So that kind of surprised me, and also a little bit of the color palette. So, okay, I'll open it to whoever wants to answer those questions. Go back to how did your institution or friend community, shape your artistic voice? So whoever wants to answer or tackle that question would be great.
I guess I can start first then.
Okay.
I grew up in a small rural town in Quincy, Florida, which is up in the north part of the Panhandle of Florida. And during my years growing up there was a lot of segregation, but my work primarily focuses on the working class. And I think that's because most of my family were working class people, and the neighborhood I grew up in. There was no one there that was extremely wealthy that I knew of that were people of color. They all worked for very wealthy white people in the area. And so my work is really kind of focused on the common man and the working class. And I think CCAD, as far as CCAD goes and that kind of thing, I did learn a lot about design and color, and particularly in color concept with Dean Kanzani. He talked a lot about grays, which is basically the in-between tonalities of color and light and form. So that was that's been a real high informative part of my work when you look at the subtleties and the values and that sense of design and composition. Now, as far as the emotional content of it, I think that an artist needs to be drawn to something that they know in some ways. And the things that I paint are primarily the environments that I know very well and the people themselves who live in those and occupy those spaces. So I'm really interested in more than just capturing something, but I'm interested in the psychological space in which they live and how they live.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's great.
So,
Yeah. Laura? Did you?
Yeah, I guess I also went to CCAD, and I just have always had a real affinity toward figurative works. And so I think my education there, it was of great value, just having all the emphasis on the figurative classes where you're really focused on, drawing and painting from life. And that was, I think, the biggest influence that it had on me. I think I would have been.
Oh, we lost. Shoot. That's okay. She was mentioning about figurative, and that brings up a point that I hadn't thought about until now, really, that the CCAD artists, we all have figures. We all have figures in our work compared to the others. I just didn't realize that until just now, how much of an influence that had. So anybody from outside of CCAD want to tackle that question?
I'm happy to jump in. As Susan mentioned, I did go to Cranbrook for graduate school, and it was for me an easy choice because it wasn't really a typical place to study because there were not classes. It was structured, or still is structured, I should say, around the atelier model. So you really just went in and worked and facilitated your own research questions and pursued those in a guided manner, excuse me, in a guided manner, but not a heavy-handed guided manner. And I've always tried to bring that into my own teaching to make sure that there's room for exploration and growth. And it is absolutely the way I work in my own studio. I try to treat it more like play than something where you have to have a quota of product that you produce every day. Some days nothing happens. Some days I stare at the wall, and some days are really productive. And that in between, that push pull is such a good feeling, I think, for the artist. And the hope is always that it comes across in the work.
Right.
I can also add on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I also went to Cranbrook, and I do really agree on like the freedom we have. Like Drew said, we don't really have like a set structure that we have to follow thoroughly. So I think it really opened up a lot of avenues in terms of like how we build, or like we can like make like totally different work from other peers. I think that really helped me even after graduating Cranbrook to really push my practice as the way I did in Akron. That's where I went right after. And I don't know if Drew would agree, but I think like we also have like Drew mentioned, like we have an element of like play in our work in terms of like the forms we choose and also like the colors we tend to decorate the surface with. And I think that's aligned with like I would say Wade and PJ's work too. I think that's where
Yes.
we are all grouped where we have these like playfulness in the forms and the visual itself.
Interesting. Yeah, that's so different than CCAD. So that's
yeah,
a
you know,
big
CCAD was,
contrast.
yeah, that's very true. But CCAD, though it was highly structured, I think that they did have different classes where you experiment with different techniques and different
Right.
ideas and concepts. And one thing that I did enjoy was the figure drawing.
Yeah.
Especially gesture drawing, quick, less than 5 minutes. Those kinds of skills or those kinds of classes have really informed my painting, especially my watercolors. I had no idea how gesture drawing has really informed my ability to do watercolors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, Okay, Keenan?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so originally, like, I'm from Canada, so I come from a program called Sheridan, which is like it's a craft design program. So like materialities, like definitely always been like the forefront of kind of my practice, and this idea of like really trying to push the material and experiment with it. And I always kind of knew about Kent State because one of my head professors was also a graduate of Kent State and like worked under Kirk as well. And I think like Kirk Mangus is like not just, I think, influential in Northeast Ohio, but like I think across the ceramics world in general, just for like this like always kind of this prolific making, but also just like this expressive way that I think a lot of ceramic artists kind of like time and time again can kind of look back into those kind of like exciting moments that happen within his work. But I think that through that, with that experimentation that kind of happens at Kent State, we're kind of also like given that freedom to not only like just push the materiality of it, but also we also work with a lot of like students in our undergrad program. So we're also kind of like feeding off the students and like working through this way of like building in like this pressure cooker that allows you to like be free to try to figure those like things out, and like trying to get in that flow state was very important for me. So like coming to America was like very like I came from a really big city, so like coming somewhere slower, like I had to kind of slow down in a way. But I just think the studio just kind of like allowed, especially at Kent State, we were told to experiment. We worked a lot with more painters in different disciplines than I did before in my previous program. So yeah, like it was really interesting. I also just came out of it, so I feel like I'm on like the come down of grad school right now, and kind of adjusting to like what does my practice look like post not having like these
Right,
deadlines.
that formal, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. That leads into a good question of let's go to CCAD and then we'll compare the other. But it's so tight, and being in school, it's very competitive and very structured, as from my experience at CCAD. So maybe explore, Laura and Dean, explore like one of your favorite instructors and how that influenced you, and how maybe you've either carried that and you still go by what they've said, and or things that you've changed, like, or how it's changed a little bit now that you're not in that structure and you've been out for a while, and mid-career and working. For me, my big takeaway was Lowell Tolstead. So if we can see Lowell's there. Okay. So he was very influential to me. He's very meticulous. And if you look at his drawings in person, you notice he never uses line. Like there's never a line that he draws. It's all value, everything. And so it's very tight and very meticulous. And he would encourage you to really look and study and draw what you see and not what you think you see, but actually tune in and hone your observational skills. He also would tell you not to noodle things to death. And there was another drawing teacher called, his name was Mr. Drummond. And he said the same thing, where that's where you go too into detail and you almost like tickle the drawing. Or I do it in ceramics. I tell my students that you're petting or tickling your ceramic piece too much. Like just kind of get the expression down before you go into all those details. So that's what I've taken away. So Dean or Laura, maybe one of your instructors and how you've carried that into your current practice.
Do you want to go, Dean, or should I?
I mean,
I
you can
guess.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'll just second the Lowell Tolstead. He was a huge influence for me. He was my well, the audio was getting a little shaky for me, but one thing that I heard from others here is that things were very structured, like at CCAD for you, Susan. But I sort of had an opposite experience. Like I had Lowell Tolstead for independent study, and like the last 2 years of college, I basically had mostly independent study painting and also ceramics with Bon Kajitani, which I think the materialism that you talk about with the ceramics kind of leaks over to my painting as well. Like I have a big interest in the materiality of the paint and the thickness of it. And so I think there is kind of like a little ceramic influence going on there, but as far as teachers, yeah, I would say Lowell Tolstead was definitely the biggest influence on me. And basically, it was his just unconditional support. Like I was very motivated, and he was just, yeah. That was my experience. More free.
Right.
Well, it's funny. When I think about instructors, it's really interesting because when I got in art school, I was surprised I even got in because I didn't really know what a portfolio was exactly. I set my things up in a little small vanilla envelope with some sketches, and I was surprised I even got in art school. And so I can't really think of a particular instructor that that I would say influenced me outside of Dean Kanzani, who taught color concept. And I think it's because he was kind of wild the way he taught it, but he really made you feel important. He made you feel like you were going to, he made artists feel important. And the way he talked about art and color and just art in itself, it had a huge impact on me and made me want to work harder. Yeah, that was a very structured class, and I got a lot from it. But I think that the information was so interesting that it still left room for experimentation, even now with color. We talked about grayscales and value and chroma and all these different things. And yes, I am informed in that way, but I'm also very, very intuitive and very, very experimental when I get in my studio. There is no formula that I really go by, even though I have all that information. Now it's more intuitive now. I still have the knowledge, but then I'm not trapped by it in some way. There's still a room to grow and challenge myself on a different way, except I can understand the language of what I'm doing sometimes, even though it's experimental. So I would say he was the most influential instructor for me, was Gonzaga.
So was he considered Bauhaus movement influenced, I can't remember. I know we had the gray, cinder block, and let's see, I know he was kind of along that movement. The design follows function follows design, right? So function first for the industrial type design, and more commercial side of it instead of that. So I was more the illustration and not the fine art side. So maybe that's why Laura had more freedom, because she was in the fine art side. I was more in the illustration. This is how it is. And I know so Dean, you also you were illustration as well.
I was in illustration, but my primary goal was to be a painter. So in the back of my head, although I majored in illustration and minored in advertising, it was never my goal to be an illustrator, because I realized that my temperament isn't, I don't like people telling me what to do and how to do it. So I have I mean, I try commercial art. I dread it. I'm telling you, it just does not fit with me. which is probably why I got let go at Hallmark. I mean,
Right.
it's just not my thing. And I know why. I know why. I just got to do what I want to do. I don't know what that is, but even after I learn something, I'm gonna break the rules. I remember having classes with Mrs. Ingram, fashion design classes, and she wanted this 9 head thing. You had to have like 9 heads, to
Right.
figure. And I was like, I just wanted to do it free form. She said,
Right.
"There's no 9 heads. I don't care about the 9 heads." Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
it's funny. Okay, we're going to switch gears and move over to Sahil and Drew and talk about their relationship, of their friendship relationship and professional relationship, and also their institution. And we'll start with, so Drew, ask you a question about, so your one piece, once more into the breach, is more narrative driven. It celebrates the cycle of renewal and amid chaos, right? So can you talk about a little bit how living in a certain community influences your work, and then and has that changed since you've moved to Guam? And will that change your work? I'm assuming yes. Your experience will change, but you talk a little bit about community.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I didn't necessarily ever have a Northeast Ohio connection before taking a job there. So, I mean, I have kind of been around the world, and I was offered a position in Northeast Ohio and took it, having only ever heard of Akron, Ohio, on things like WKRP in Cincinnati, or like Kent State from Neil Young or something like that. So I was really intrigued in arriving in Northeast Ohio to see how welcoming it was and how much it was focused on its own regrowth. I was in Akron for 8 years. And when I arrived, Akron was definitely focused on rebuilding, and watching that transformation was really inspiring to my own work, and trying to figure out how to communicate things on more of an emotional level rather than, I think, as Dean was talking about, like on an illustrative level. Like, I wasn't trying to make a concrete vision of what regrowth and rebirth looks like, but rather connect the viewer there through things like form and color. And maybe, I've never really vocalized it this way, but the more I think about it, through the formal elements of art, to use those as a toolkit to communicate something on an emotional level to the viewer. So that community was really kind of fantastic, in the sense of being focused on its own growth really made me want to focus on my personal growth. I've not been in Guam long enough to comment. The one comment I have sort of said to everybody is, before coming to the island, I always found it weird that people were obsessed with the sunset and painting the sunset and photographing the sunset. And I am now a very avid sunset watcher and sunrise watcher when I can, because the colors are inexplicable.
Okay,
yeah, I mean,
I am just a fangirl of your Instagram account, and when you post any of your sunset photos, they're amazing.
I mean, the color itself
like
is just unreal. Yeah,
they are
yeah.
unreal. They really are. And I'm just seeing the photo of it, so.
And I have to say, it is 100 times better, like, out of your eyes. Cameras are, of course, more amazing than they've ever been, but it still does not capture that intensity and richness. So it's having those influences of space really give an artist, I think, freedom to do things they don't even know they're capable of. And I felt that in Ohio, and I'm starting to feel it here in Guam, but the transition's still weaning out, so not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, I have a question for Sahil, and so you worked. So not only did you go to Cranbrook, but you also worked at Akron. But you also met PJ and Wade or Drew in Philadelphia, right?
Well, I met Wade while I was at
Wade.
Cranbrook.
And while at Cranbrook.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then, so explain to me the Philadelphia connection.
I never been
Oh, you
from
haven't been
Philly.
to Philadelphia.
Yeah, PJ's from Philadelphia.
PJ. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
Okay,
it's okay.
getting back, and now you are in Chicago.
I was in Chicago like
Okay,
a couple months ago. I'm like also moving around.
where are you
I'm
now?
in Kansas right now.
Oh, you're
Oh,
in
you're in
Kansas
Kansas.
I'm in
now.
Kansas right now, yeah. I'm doing a residency at the University of Kansas
I didn't
at
know that.
s-
Well, congratulations.
thank you. It's pretty new. It's like a little over a month ago. So yeah, I was like also busy moving, settling, but yeah.
Right. So your work explores a lot of psychological of who we are, the psychology.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about this piece that we have on the screen, Guillotine?
Yeah. I'd say uh I like the word like the title juxtaposed. I like to juxtapose like conflicting like emotions or sensations in my practice or like in a piece, and I think like the body can like contain a pleasure, but at the same time, like I think pleasure can also be like torturous at times, like
Right.
if you go over a certain degree. So I
Right.
think there's a push and pull there that I wanted to convey through this piece. And well, obviously the title is like aiming towards the infliction of pain, but at the
Right.
same time I tried to like juxtapose that and like balance that with like these like playful forms and like the colors. So I think that's like one of the strategies I employ when I'm like trying to create tension in terms of like pleasure and pain. And
Right.
a lot of my work is about like the body and the representation of the body in an abstract way. And yeah,
So
this is
I have a question about
Mhm,
Cranbrook then,
mhm,
and I think it's what Drew said in terms of um, was how did they influence you, or was the influence for you to experiment? Was it
mhm,
more, do you have a lot of freedom, or was it encouraging to explore whatever you wanted, or was there the
mhm.
structure?
Well, funny thing is like I was in the ceramics department at Cranbrook, but the first year I barely touched clay. I was more into like performance, which was something I used to do a lot during undergrad. And I did a lot of performance art in the first year. And I think my performance was were also like revolving around like psychology and like identity and like the body, of course. Literally like using my body to perform in front of like a group of people. But I think the biggest shift was to like sketch a lot. I never like sketched before to create works. Like my undergrad work like looks completely different from like the body of work that was shown at the Maslin Museum. And I think the sketching really opened up a lot of like avenues in terms of like the forms that I were like interested in were easily like I found out that it was pretty easily transferable to ceramics.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that was a big break point. And I guess the freedom, yeah, definitely the freedom in Cranbrook encouraged me to do that, because people were doing like very different things
Right.
in very like the period of time they were there. So yeah.
Okay, well, he brought up sketching, and I was gonna ask that question later, but since you brought it up, I wanted to ask everybody, how do you approach your work? Do you do sketch a lot and to plan ahead of time, or do you just go right in and so how much planning, how much sketching do you do before you start working? And that's a group question. Whoever wants to answer it, I would love to know from everybody. That would be great. So whoever wants to answer, tackle that.
Well, it depends on the subject,
Right.
if it's figurative, that may take a lot of drawings.
Right.
Um, so in this case, this is a pretty good size painting. I think it's a watercolor, so it's like 30 by 40 inches. So there's drawing, but it's really very sketchy. I tend to draw more with the brush and less with, it's just, as long as I get the placement of things and I feel comfortable with the placement, then and it's usually pretty light and delicate. It's not, the drawings are not very, very detailed. They're all suggestive because I don't want it to feel like it's like filling in like a coloring book of some sort. I
Right.
gotta have that freedom. So that's why I say gesture drawings has really informed me in terms of doing watercolor and suggesting something and losing edges and finding form and stuff like that. Gesture drawings do that. You pick a line is thicker or thinner, and your eye flows in and out of a space. The same thing can be done with color and light. Same thing.
Right. Yeah.
So drawing's very, very important for me.
Yeah.
Very important.
Laura?
Yeah, I really just do kind of a rudimentary sketch that just to get my ideas down. I set up photography sessions from those ideas. So my sketches are usually just like compositionally, like what kind of poses I want my figures to be in, or if I'm going to be using, more water bottles or whatever. But then I set up photography sessions, and because I'm really interested in like very unique and specific light. So I look for these kind of magical moments that I can kind of capture with the photography. And then I kind of go back and do sketches again, like patching together, different images that I like from the photo shoots. So I don't do a lot of sketching from life. I mean, I occasionally do just for fun, but for my paintings, like between, compositionally working things out and then working them out in Photoshop. I do a
Okay, so
lot.
you do use a computer Photoshop.
Yeah, I like to do that. And I kind of do that to size things too, to like figure out, how big I'm going to make them and relative to the other imagery. And so.
Right.
Interesting.
That's what I do too. Like I draw first and then I'll scan it and then I'll change the composition. I'll make a composition in Photoshop. And this is for my ceramic too, of how I want it to be. And I usually have a plan, and then I'll start working in clay, and then it changes as I go. So I don't always stick to my first drawing, but I like to go in with a plan. Otherwise, I'm all over the place. I don't have any focus. So, Keenan, I haven't heard from you for a while. Do you sketch first, or do you go right hands in clay?
I mean, yeah, I think I definitely kind of always kind of come into the studio and like start with some kind of drawing. I find it to be like a way to kind of like center and focus what's kind of happening, just to like get out whatever anxiety or like anything that's kind of happening, just to, like get you into the state of like, okay, I'm here with purpose. Because if not, you'll just be staring off and like have no direction. So sometimes it's like a plan. If not, it's just kind of like drawing out some of the things I'm thinking about. But with the forms, a lot of the times I am sketching them out, and I have to go through those kind of iterations, because once you kind of start building in clay, like the speed changes, right? And so there's something with like this generating of idea that I think is like really valuable, especially like in my practice when I'm making these kind of forms before I'm like solidifying and making them physical. But then kind of like you said, I'll have the plan, and then like I have like this, and I'll put them up and be looking at them. But then as like you kind of build, sometimes I'll even just like take a picture on my phone, and then I'll start drawing on the phone. Like,
yeah, I do that too. Yes,
the different move instead as it kind of happens, right? And it's just with like the little paint, and I'm like looking at the sketch and then looking at the thing. I'm like, no, this is way better. Like, you're just gonna have like this feeling. So I think drawing is like inherently important to like this idea of focusing. I'm not sure if there's any value in like working through that. Like I keep all of them, like this order, whatever. And I look through them and I'll find something later as like a reference point to look back.
Right.
But it's mostly as like a form of like focusing, I think, for me before I start like committing to this idea. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Otherwise, there's too many options if you just have a blank piece of paper or just clay. Like it's
It's like then you
paralyzing.
start building it, and then you're like, I hate this. Then you,
I hate that. I just
and
did
then you,
that
and then you
yesterday.
recycle it, and you're like, I just wasted 20 hours. Or
I
whatever.
just did, yes. I just did that yesterday because I didn't have a plan. No plan.
Right?
Yeah, and so I have nothing. Okay, Drew and Sahil.
Yeah, I'd happily build on, I think, both what you, Susan, and Keenan was saying. I happily cannot draw. I have no ability and no kind of focus to sit down with a pen and a paper. But sketching for me doesn't take that form. It really takes the form of, as you said, making a roadmap or a plan. And then, as Keenan said, just kind of settling your brain before you get into the workshop. So for me, sketching is like putting tape onto paper to come up with a composition rather than like dealing with line. And it's the freedom to not have to think in battle with physical forces like gravity and things like that. I can plan out things that really wouldn't work if I were trying to do them in space on paper, and then kind of create that challenge where I have to do them in space. And that's the push pull, and I think the love of frustration that anyone who works in ceramics has. You know, they like to do things that are challenging and may work out, or, as you know, may never work out.
Right, right.
So
That
it's
sounds
important to
great.
have a plan more than like an image
Right.
that you're chasing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
There we go.
me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think to add on to what I was talking about. I think now I'm usually like 0 or 100, and I used to not sketch at all, but now I'm like almost always sketching before
Do
I
you
make
have a
something.
sketchbook? Do you, I'm not
I do.
asking.
Oh, I thought
You
you
don't
were
have to. You don't have to show us your
I was like,
sketchbook
here you go.
unless you want to. But
I don't think I have one right now.
no, okay. But do you keep one?
I do keep one.
Okay.
I do keep one, yes. And I get pretty, meticulous about it. Like I would like it's like making something before I make it. Like it's a
Yeah.
really quick way to just like see what like Drew was saying, like the composition is easy to read
Yeah.
on a piece of paper, like in a couple of seconds. It's also easy for me to like take parts, like, disassemble it in the drawing and then like
Right.
reassemble it in different ways. I'm trying to like not go too like obsessive about it because I feel like the ceramics has influenced my drawing too. Like I'm like unconsciously making a drawing that kind of is for the ceramics piece.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a bit like confining for me in this like the drawing itself. Like I would draw something that would kind of work in clay. So that kind of I think that kind of like backfired and limited.
Right.
So I'm like trying to be more free and
A little loosen up.
yeah, a little loosen up.
Yeah. Yeah, CCAD, when we were required to keep a sketchbook, and we had several teachers that they required 5 drawings a day in a sketchbook, and then they would check it at the end of the week. And so if you didn't do sketches for a couple of days, then you had all those you didn't want to have a ton of sketches by the end of the week to have to do. So it just helped get a habit of sketching. And a lot of my sketchbook sketches are not sketches. I write out. So very left brain. I have lots of it's all words, all descriptions. So I don't know if anybody else does that. Like how I want it to look, I just write it out and then do big shapes. So I think I have a couple more questions, but I wanted to ask Alex if we have any questions at all from people watching.
We don't, not yet.
Okay. Well, I
So
have
I don't
some
know if
questions.
any of the, I was going to say, if you have some or if any of the artists have questions of each other.
Oh, yeah. Anybody have questions of each other? I do have a couple more questions, but I want to open it up so you guys can also just talk freely.
I had a question for Dean. Uh, yeah, I was
You have a
wondering, like,
question?
do you usually take photos of the things you want to paint, or is it like, do you enjoy like live paintings more, or like, do you have a preference in terms of like your
I do
photography?
both. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
really have a real preference. Sometimes with landscapes, you do the plein air stuff, and I can do a portrait from just a sketch. I don't need, I can. I guess I've been doing figures so long,
Mm-hmm.
and even when at the studio, I have probably maybe 30, 40 paintings going at a time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
because
I had no idea.
yeah,
Wow.
I get bored very quickly. And so I have a lot of drawings. There's a lot of there's paintings everywhere. Sometimes, and for me, for painting, it's kind of very organic. I may have an idea in my head, but it's not quite coming out the way I want. And sometimes I'll have elements and things, and I'll start painting them down. I'll start painting them out, and I'll look up and I got a painting that's very, very minimalist that started off with all this activity that I go, it's too much in it, too much in it. I got to take this out, take this out.
Mm-hmm.
With watercolor, it's a little bit more planned somewhat, a little bit more structured. But when it comes to like acrylics or oil paintings, I can easily paint out. And sometimes when the watercolors don't work, I do a combination of acrylic and watercolor. I go, okay, this watercolor isn't quite, this part's working out fine, but I need to do something over here. And I'll begin to opaque things and take it out. And it turns into a different kind of a feeling of a work. So I'm constantly shifting around my ideas. And sometimes they're planned out and sometimes they're just not. And I don't always like them planned out. It leaves room for me to, if I want to add some collage in it or if I want to add some texture in it,
Mm-hmm.
pasting on things. Because if you see the originals, there's a lot of things going on in it. So there's no set. I don't. Although I was informed by certain things at CCD. When I get in the studio, everything's on in terms of experimenting. Sometimes I'll have three paintings and I'll go, these three look good together. And I'll move them around. Next thing I know, I got a triptych. Even though they start off as three separate paintings, I put them together and they have an interesting way of marrying each other abstractly. And so I'm constantly maneuvering myself. Oh yeah, by the way, you're in Kansas.
I
If you
am.
can get to Manhattan, I have an immersive exhibition at the Museum of Arts and Lights.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, yeah.
That's
So if you can get to
cool.
see it, I'd love for you to see it, see what you think, your
Oh,
feedback on that.
yeah, for sure. Manhattan,
Yeah.
the lights, you said.
Yeah,
What?
when I heard you were in Kansas, I was like, oh, wow, it's in Kansas.
Wait, what was the museum again? What was the?
Museum of Arts plus Lights. It's in Manhattan,
Okay,
Kansas.
gotcha. Cool. Definitely check it
Pretty
out.
close to you, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Well, Susan I think Susan just logged out. Uh,
Susan got bored with us.
Oh, yeah. We lost her. Did we lose her?
I think so, but
So Keenan, I was wondering, and it's less of a question and more of a comment. I'm very happy to hear that you did your undergrad at Sheridan. I was fortunate enough to do a visiting artist there for a semester,
Oh,
and
nice.
I actually think it's one of the most amazing studios and like most underrated places that I've been in relationship to the arts. And I wonder if now that you've finished graduate school, if you find yourself thinking back fondly to that program and if you kind of compare it in your head to Kent State and how they work with each other in your mind.
Well, Sheridan is like a really unique place, right? It's not like a traditional BFA program, like because of like this right away, like through undergrad, you're kind of given like liberty and the ability to like learn this like technical aspect from like mixing your own clay, like doing your own glazes, like firing your own kiln. So the people that leave and experience that program right away out of like undergrad, I feel like are sometimes um have a just like a greater understanding of like the whole materiality as a whole, which I think is like a leg up compared to like other programs that I've been. Like I also did my post back at Alberta University of the Arts as well, with like Zimmer Beamer and like Martina Lanton out there, and like that was really incredible. But Sheridan itself, like there's so many visiting artists, like as it's the only program like that really in Canada. And honestly, I haven't seen anything like that in the United States either. But you know, when you have your master's and you go to grad school, it's like now you have the liberty to do whatever you want. Like now it's like now you just get to like dial in and focus and like really harness like, okay, what am I talking about? What am I trying to say? And whereas Sheridan is such a plethora of like so many different aspects of what's kind of going on with the quality of like craftsmanship, and it's kind of like the same way of like drawing, like it's like this repetition that's really important, and like this like really beautiful community that's there that is, I think, really unique to some other programs that I've experienced. And we just had our funding threatened at Sheridan as well. They were just trying to shut it down. But thankfully we just secured another year, so they just have 1 year of no enrollment this fall. Wow. As well. But like if anyone is interested in any kind of craft and design, like if it's from furniture making, glass blowing, textiles, industrial design, like I had the best 4 years there, and everyone who I know went there is like still in the arts, it's still in their career. Like it's like people who are like extremely invested. And now kind of coming back to Toronto, like being close to where I was, it's nice to like be reconnecting with everyone, and everyone's still kind of working. So whereas like in Kent State, it was I had a small cohort. And so it was like, we're really just like individualizing your thing. But what I really appreciate about Kent State as well is the crossover with the other disciplines. So like really working closely with like painters at a graduate school level, like really working closely with like textiles, and like having kind of different voices of people who aren't just like niche in your discipline, which can sometimes be like when you talk about ceramics, people, they just want to talk about ceramic technicalities, right? And we just nerd out about the texture, whatever, the glaze, but Kent State was so much more well-rounded in that sense of being able to be like, okay, like this is like actually the public, like what is happening here, which was like totally different. But is that any question? Did you like it?
Yeah.
How long were you there for? Like
I was there for 6 months, and I mean, I think Canada is. You sort of brought it up with Calgary, and you know, I know Oakville is not really Toronto, but at the same time, Canada does this thing where art schools are super functional inside of large cities, and it's amazing. Whereas Kent State, like you're at a land.
I went all the time. I made it a commitment to go to Cleveland and go to the openings. I was like, I can't stay in here all the time.
And that's the U.S. And maybe Sahil can even like weigh in on that, because when you're at one of these land grant campuses, like you're away from everything else. So the thing to do is work rather than have like, the influence of the place kind of filter into
I had never been to a college town before. I'm like, I met Susan at Kent State during Blossom. Yeah. And I was like in this college town, and I'm like, where am I? Like, what is happening? But like at the same time, like the funding is great, that people is good, but I'm just like, okay, like I'm in this room now. Like, you know, and so it's like, how do you, but at the same time, that's grad school. It's like this pressure cooker. You're trying to like, but
yeah,
well, I don't know. Like I don't have any relation or connection to that stuff. So it's like really amazing for me to be like, hey, Americana, I'm here. Like
it's cultural exchange for you.
Yeah, exactly, correct.
Yeah, I was just saying, like I'm also in Lawrence, Kansas, which is like a very small town. And that being said, I am like attending an opening like tomorrow to Kansas City, which is like 45 minutes away. So I think it is important to like, you know, have a balance between like being like so secluded and also like, you know, meeting people. But I feel you.
Okay. Well,
hi Susan, welcome back.
I know. Our internet went out, and so I was kicked off, and then I couldn't get back on. So I'm back. I'm glad you guys kept the conversation rolling. That's the professionals you are. That's excellent. That's why I picked you, right? I'm thankful that you guys joined us. Let's see. If I have any more questions. I do. What is the next project? Like, what are you doing now? So you are in, I know, Sahil, you're now doing your residency. And so we got that. How about your work? And everybody can address this. The work that we see in the show now, is that similar to what I'm assuming? Yes. Or are you doing something different, or in terms of your artist statement and what you want to explore? Or do you like tease that out a little bit? Like, what do you want to do? You can go
Should I
ahead.
go first?
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh yeah. Right now, I think I'm still kind of settling, adjusting,
Yeah.
but I'm also like taking a digital fabrication class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm like learning how to use the laser cutter, also and the CNC, and also the 3D printer. I don't know how that's gonna influence my work yet. I only know so little, so much.
Right.
So yeah, but hopefully that like brings up interesting like elements to my work, and
Sure.
yeah. So we'll see.
So 3D printer for clay or 3D?
No, not necessarily.
Oh,
Like
okay.
yeah, like
Um,
wood,
yeah.
acrylic,
Yeah.
yeah, stuff like that.
Don't know. Like, it could be anything.
It could be anything. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
The museum, we just got all that equipment here. So
That's awesome. Wow.
yeah, we have no hands on it yet.
Mhm.
I haven't tested it out, but I'm so excited
That's awesome.
to see how that works out. Who else? Let's see. Drew, go through the top.
Well, so I have to obviously thank the Maslin Museum the most. This week, of course, I had some work accepted into an exhibition in Taiwan, and the museum, Susan, I know, and Alex as well, you were both kind enough to release the piece out of this Juxtaposed show, which I'm sad to have it depart early, but I'm very happy to have it get some international recognition. So I do sincerely appreciate that. So that's coming up in the next couple of weeks.
So exciting.
Everyone light a candle for me that things go well with FedEx, please. I'd appreciate that. And then on top of that, I'm similar to Sahil, trying to adjust to the world here in Guam. I've been making a lot of coolers out of clay because the cooler is very ubiquitous here in Guam. We have to keep things iced and chili. And I've been making a number of champagne buckets, so clay buckets that hold champagne bottles. Just kind of for the fun of it, to celebrate the richness of everything here, but also to think a little deeper on the importance of water. Obviously, being an island, resources are sometimes limited, so we deal with things like that, like queuing up for water and gas, and it's put it on a focus in life for me of the things that. Unfortunately, in Northeast Ohio, you can take ice for granted because it's always around 9 months of the year. So here it's a little different, and I found that my focus has sort of shifted in that direction.
Very good. Interesting. All right, Dean.
Well, it's really interesting hearing how everybody uses technology. And I'm sort of a dinosaur, I guess, in some ways. My approach is still very hands-on. But I do have an exhibition up that we went to the gala last weekend, and it's an immersive. And I was really taken aback by the technology and where the art world is going with that sensibility. At first, when I was approached, I was a little leery, but I was like, wow, this is really, really interesting. And to see the work animated and the way they're doing things is really quite engaging.
So explain, they've taken your paintings and they've made it an immersive, so you can walk into your paintings?
Well, it's they are digital projections, which they're animated and they move and they do all kinds of things. And the thing that's really interesting about it was that they're also projected on the floor, they're projected on the walls. There's music that accompanies it. It's the kind of thing that you have to actually see it. You have to be in the space to understand it.
And where's this?
It's in Manhattan, Kansas.
Okay.
But what blew me away was the way they could move like some of the portraits, they could actually move them. They looked like they were alive almost.
Oh, crazy.
And they were gigantic. They were huge, and I've never seen my work on that scale. So I have to admit, I've never thought about working really large,
Right.
ever because of FedEx and all the shipping issues.
Right.
But boy, that has really kind of tickled me a little bit to maybe venture out into making massive works now, which
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be interested
Well,
in.
now technically it's possible.
Yeah,
it's-
so but it was really fascinating, the technology and all that. And I'm experimenting more with abstractions and different non-objective things as well.
Right.
But the technology thing is really fascinating to me right now, and how that's going to change
Yeah.
the art, and how we engage the public with our work, even, and
Right.
on a massive level. So I'm intrigued
Yeah,
by
we
it.
still have our hand in it. Like
Right, we still have our hand in it.
technically, the technology doesn't rule us. We choose
Yes,
how it
we
will be
use
viewed. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. So I guess that's where I'm at right now. Is that's really been fascinating for me.
Okay, Keenan.
I mean, similar to Soil and Drew, I also am adjusting. It's just been about less than a month since I moved into this residency, so getting the lay of the land, meeting everyone, that kind of thing. As far as like experimentation goes, like I've been doing a lot of like module pieces that kind of like fit together, but I've been downfiring a lot as well, and like doing kind of like building up these kinds of like glaze surfaces. But just kind of like, again, getting settled just in the space. I've been bothering the jewelry designers to be attaching metal to some of my things. So I'm excited to be able to have those kind of facilities. But yeah, I mean, just trying to figure out what's going on. I have a couple shows happening in Toronto, but that's some older work. So I think when you get into a new space and like having to readjust how you do things and having to work with people in a different capacity, and just it's been good so far. It's been great, and it's nice and downtown, and I'm back in the big city, and I'm right beside the lake, so I get to see the sunset every day, and it's beautiful.
Nice.
Wonderful to look at no matter what. So yeah, things are happening eventually.
We'll make it work. Yes.
Right.
Where you go, you'll be successful with what you do. Yeah. Laura.
Yeah. Thanks. I have a show coming up at Beeler Gallery in November at CCAD.
Okay.
So, it's a group of work that I've been working on for the last, I think the oldest piece is maybe 6 years old in it. So, but then, so in my studio though, I'm working on a whole new body of work. So
Oh, how
I'm excited
exciting.
about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
No teasers. You're just new body of work. We'll have to wait and see. When
Well,
will this?
technology. Yeah, everyone keeps mentioning technology, and so I guess that has kind of snuck into my work a little bit, like more that I'm depicting. I'm thinking about surveillance, so I have some drones in some of my paintings.
Oh, interesting.
And so yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, that I can't wait. I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
Thanks.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. So Alex, did we get any questions at all? If not, I think this is probably a wrap.
Yep, I think so, but I'm sure if others have questions, there can be a conversation that lives on within YouTube once we get it posted, and certainly other dialogues to be had maybe among you all being connected through this show that is sort of a 6 degrees of separation concept, but obviously with much deeper and thoughtful connection. So thank you, Susan, for facilitating such a great conversation that had wonderfully organic components to it. Thank you all for when technology failed us.
Carry on for us.
I cursed us by spending so much time preparing for it earlier. Picking up and just Yeah, keeping the ball rolling. You're all fantastic. Again, the Juxtaposed exhibition is on view at the Massillon Museum, where admission is always free until October 12th. But we'll have a virtual scan. We had a 3D scan conducted of the gallery in June after the exhibition had opened, and that will be available, we hope, as early as before the end of October. And so you can visit the gallery. And Dean, not having been able to make it here in person, and Drew, I don't think you were able to see it in person either, but you can literally take a tour through, walk through, and zoom in, read every label, and experience it over and over again. So thank you all for joining us tonight. You were amazing conversationalists. You're incredible artists. We're so fortunate to have had the opportunity to work with you. And I hope you all have a great evening. Or Drew, for you, I hope this is a wonderful start to your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Nice to meet you
everyone.
all. Thanks.
Thank
You
you.
guys.
I'm so grateful.